Millions of years ago, in the late Pleistocene era, there lived a magnificent creature known as the Megaloceros giganteus, the Irish elk. It was an evolutionary marvel. It was powerful, majestic, and stood taller than any deer in history. But its most defining feature was its antlers. They were massive, spanning up to 12 feet wide, a terrifying display of strength designed to intimidate rivals and attract mates. For thousands of years, these antlers were the key to its success. They were the crowning jewel of its evolution. But then, the climate changed. The forests grew denser. The trees closed in. Suddenly, the very thing that made the elk magnificent became its doom. The antlers were too heavy. They were too wide. The elk could no longer move through the forest without getting tangled in the branches. It became trapped by its own greatness. Its head was weighed down by the burden of its own evolution. It died out not because it was weak, but because it was too strong. It was over-equipped for the environment it lived in. The Norwegian philosopher Peter Wessel Zapffe looked at the Irish elk, and he saw a mirror image of humanity. He argued that just as the elk was cursed with antlers that were too big, human beings are cursed with a brain that is too complex. We are the only species in history to suffer from a damaging surplus of consciousness. If you are watching this, and you often feel a crushing weight on your mind, if you feel like you are dragging a heavy load that prevents you from running freely like everyone else, you are not broken. You are the Irish elk. Your intelligence is not a gift. It is a biological curse. And today, we are going to find out if you can survive it. To understand why high intelligence hurts, we have to understand our place in nature. Zapffe argued that nature operates on a strict principle. Enough, but not too much. A shark has exactly enough intelligence to hunt. A bird has exactly enough intelligence to build a nest and migrate. Every species is perfectly molded to its world. They are in the world, and they are of the world. They feel pain, yes, but they do not contemplate the concept of pain. They do not ask why. But somewhere along the evolutionary line, humanity broke this rule. We shot past the target. Zapffe called this the breach. He described it like a child who suddenly wakes up in a room full of sleeping dolls. We are the only thing in the universe that knows it is going to die. We are the only thing that needs meaning to survive. Consider the gazelle being chased by a lion. The gazelle feels fear, it runs, its heart pounds. But once it escapes, it shakes off the adrenaline and goes back to grazing. It does not sit under a tree and wonder, why did the lion want to kill me? Is the universe cruel? What did I do to deserve this? But a human being does. We do not just experience events, we judge them. We analyze them. We project them into the future. Nature didn't design us to need meaning, it designed us to reproduce. But our brains grew so powerful that we began to ask questions that nature cannot answer. What is the point of all this struggle? Why do we suffer? What happens when the sun burns out? For the person with average intelligence, these questions are fleeting. They might have a moment of wonder, and then they go back to their daily lives. But for the person with high intelligence, the person with the surplus, these questions are not fleeting. They are constant. The highly intelligent mind is a hyperactive pattern recognition machine. It sees the skeleton beneath the skin. You look at society, and where others see culture, you see arbitrary rules. You look at success, and where others see a prize, you see a hamster wheel. This is why ignorance is truly bliss. Ignorance is the state of being perfectly adapted to your environment. High intelligence is the state of being maladapted. It is the sensation of being a stranger in your own home. You have been given a map for a world that doesn't exist, and a mind that demands answers from a universe that stays silent. This creates what Zapffe called cosmic panic. What does cosmic panic feel like? It isn't just anxiety. Anxiety is worrying about whether you will pay rent or pass a test. Cosmic panic is different. It is the sudden, terrifying realization that being alive is weird, absurd, and fundamentally tragic. Zapffe describes this panic as the mind reaching out to understand the universe and feeling the universe recoil. For the highly intelligent person, this panic usually hits in the quiet moments. It's that feeling you get when you look in the mirror for too long and suddenly don't recognize yourself. It's the hollow feeling after you achieve a huge goal and your brain immediately whispers, "So what? Is that it?" Most people can simply shake this off. They have a biological filter that suppresses the existential dread. But here is the curse of the high IQ. Your filter is broken. High intelligence implies a high-fidelity perception of reality. You see more reality than others. And because reality is fundamentally indifferent to human wishes, seeing more of it is painful. You see the passage of time more acutely. You see the fragility of your relationships more clearly. You see the mathematical improbability of your own happiness. This is why studies consistently show a correlation between high intelligence and higher rates of depression and anxiety. It is not because smart people are weak. It is because they are defenseless against the truth. Zapffe wrote, "The human being is the only living creature that must deny its own nature to survive." Let that sink in. To be happy, you have to be a little bit deluded. You have to ignore the cliff edge you are standing on. But if you are smart, you can't take your eyes off the cliff. This curse often begins long before adulthood. It starts in the classroom. We need to talk about the gifted child. If you are listening to this, you were likely that child. The one who learned to read early. The one who asked too many questions. The one the teachers loved because you were quiet and observant. But there is a tragedy inherent in the gifted child that Zapf's philosophy explains perfectly. As a child, your surplus consciousness was praised. You were rewarded for your big antlers. Look how smart he is, they said. She's going to change the world. You built your entire identity around being the smart one. But as you grew older, the environment changed. Just like the forest closing in on the Irish Elk. You realized that the real world doesn't care about your depth of thought. The real world cares about social signaling, networking, and repetitive labor. The gifted kid grows up to be the burned-out adult because the very mechanism that brought you praise your hyper-awareness suddenly becomes a liability. You overthink every social interaction. You are paralyzed by perfectionism because you can see every possible way you might fail. You struggle to do mindless work because your mind refuses to turn off. The sadness of the intelligent adult is often the grief of the gifted child who realize that their gift has no place in a mundane world. You are a race car stuck in rush hour traffic. The engine is overheating, not because it's broken, but because it wants to go fast, and the world is forcing it to go slow. This friction becomes unbearable when the intelligent person enters the modern workplace. If school was the training ground for conformity, the corporate world is the battlefield. And for the high IQ individual, it is often a theater of the absurd. You sit in meetings that could have been emails. You listen to managers speak in buzzwords that mean nothing. Synergy, circle back, paradigm shift. To the average mind, this is just work. It is a necessary evil to pay the bills. But to the mind suffering from surplus consciousness, this feels like psychological torture. You see the inefficiency. You see the fake smiles. You see the hierarchy that is based on politics rather than competence. Your brain is screaming to fix it, to call it out, to dismantle the system and build something better. But you learn very quickly that the system does not want to be fixed. It wants to be sustained. So you begin to engage in what psychologists call existential masking. You learn to dim your light. You learn to nod when you want to scream. You learn to pretend that you care about the quarterly revenue targets, even though deep down you are thinking about the heat death of the universe. This masking is exhausting. It drains your soul. You come home at the end of the day not tired from physical labor, but tired from the sheer effort of pretending to be less than you are. You are an actor who has been on stage for 8 hours straight, playing a character you despise. And the worst part? You look around and everyone else seems fine. They are happy with the happy hour. They are content with the promotion. And this reinforces the isolation. You think, why can't I just be like them? Why can't I just be happy with the simple things? But you can't. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't know what you know. So how do we survive this overheating? If the human mind is a loaded gun pointed at itself, why haven't we gone extinct? Zapffe argues that civilization itself is just a complex defense mechanism. It is a massive collective effort to distract us from the void. He outlines 4 specific techniques that humanity uses to avoid cosmic panic. As we go through these, ask yourself, why do these fail me? The first mechanism is isolation. This is the most primal defense. It is the conscious decision to banish scary thoughts. It is the don't look down strategy. When a child asks, where does grandma go when she dies? And the parent says, she went to a nice place, now eat your dinner, that is isolation. Society isolates us from death. We hide the sick in hospitals. We hide the dead in boxes. But the intelligent mind struggles to isolate. Your curiosity is too strong. You peel back the curtain. You want to know, even if it hurts. You cannot simply UNC the truth. The second mechanism is anchoring. This is the most powerful social glue. Anchoring is the act of fixing your mind to a higher power or a great cause. God, the state, the family, the company, the cause. When you are anchored, you don't have to face the void alone. You are part of a structure. You have a role. I am a father. I am a patriot. I am a believer. These titles are walls we build against the panic. But the curse of intelligence is skepticism. The smart mind acts like acid to these anchors. You analyze the structure of the religion and find historical contradictions. You look at the political party and see corruption. You look at the corporate career and see a hamster wheel. You want to be anchored. You want to belong. But your mind won't let you believe the lie. And so, while everyone else is huddled together around their shared beliefs, you are left drifting alone. The third mechanism is distraction. If anchoring is holding onto a rock, distraction is swimming in circles so you don't notice the water is deep. Zapffe wrote this in 1933, long before smartphones, but he predicted our world perfectly. Today, distraction has been weaponized. Algorithms are designed to exploit our need to look away from ourselves. TikTok, Instagram, the 24-hour news cycle, these are not just entertainment. They are anesthetics. We are terrified of boredom. Why? Because in the boredom, the silence comes back. And in the silence, the cosmic panic waits. For the highly intelligent, this modern distraction is a double-edged sword. You might binge watch or scroll just like anyone else, but you feel the emptiness of it much faster. You see the algorithm working on you. You see the Skinner box. You get bored of the cheap dopamine. You crave depth. But when you dive deep, you find the panic again. It is a trap. If isolation, anchoring, and distraction fail the intelligent mind, what is left? Are you doomed to despair? Zapffe offers a fourth path. It is the rarest, the hardest, but the most noble. Sublimation. Sublimation is the act of taking the damaging surplus of energy and converting it into something creative. Instead of suppressing the panic, you express it. Instead of running from the tragedy, you frame it. Think of the greatest works of art, literature, and philosophy in human history. Think of Beethoven's symphonies. Think of Van Gogh's Starry Night. Think of Dostoevsky's novels. These were not created by happy, well-adjusted people. They were created by people who were tortured by their own consciousness. They took their cosmic panic and they built a container for it. But what does sublimation actually look like for you? You don't have to be Van Gogh to do it. It starts by changing your relationship with your own thoughts. When the panic comes when you feel that crushing weight of why does any of this matter, do not run to Netflix. Do not run to alcohol. Sit with it. Grab a pen. If you feel the tragedy of existence, write a tragedy. Write a poem that screams. If you see the absurdity of the corporate world, write a comedy. Make a joke out of the manager who speaks in buzzwords. Turn the pain into a punchline. If you are obsessed with the mechanics of the universe, build a system. Learn to code. Learn engineering. Force the chaos of reality into a structure that you can control. The goal is not to be famous. The goal is to externalize the pressure. When you keep the surplus consciousness inside your head, it eats you alive. It becomes anxiety. It becomes depression. But when you push it out into the world, onto paper, onto a canvas, into a business idea, it becomes an object. You can look at it. You can critique it. You are no longer the victim of the thought, you are the creator of it. This is why creative work is often the only thing that quiets the intelligent mind. It is the only time the antlers are being used for what they were designed for. You are not trying to fit through the trees anymore. You are knocking the trees down to build a cabin. For the intelligent person, consumption is depression. Creation is salvation. We return to the Irish elk. The creature died because its antlers were too heavy to carry. But you are not an elk. You are a human being. You have the unique ability to choose how you carry your burden. High intelligence is a biological curse, yes. It alienates you from the simple joys of the herd. It keeps you awake when others sleep. It forces you to stare into the abyss. But it is also the only thing that makes life interesting. The friction between your mind and the world is where the sparks come from. If you feel lonely, it is because you are looking for company in a world that is asleep. Stop looking for company. Start looking for paper. Start looking for a canvas. Start looking for a problem to solve. Do not try to saw off your antlers just to fit through the trees. Learn to walk with your head held high, carrying the weight of your consciousness with dignity. It is a scary thing to have a mind that is wide awake. But as Zapffe would say, it is better to be a tragic giant than a happy sleepwalker. If you are ready to stop running from your own mind, subscribe to this channel. We explore the philosophy that scares average people. And if you made it this far, comment below with the word sublimation, so I know who the deep thinkers are.